Hello and welcome to GMT's Holland 44 Operation Market Garden short game playthrough, and we're on turn 5 now, night turn, second night turn. This is the last turn that the airborne units have their own supply. After this turn their units are out of supply unless they can trace back through to the 30 core start area, and the supply rules are effectively 4 hexes to a road and then of any length down a road. Well, 101st is kind of there, with the exception of a problem with running supply across a bridge. And but 82nd and the 1st Airborne are way off that. This will be their last turn of being able to do any heavy operations, and they'll have to kind of shut down. They get full defence, but only half attack from now on. It's night, so there's no airdrops. There's no artillery resupply for the airborne units either. Of course, nothing's flying. We do have resupply for the Allies, 2 units as normal, and actually for the Germans, it's every single eligible artillery unit can flip back over on their resupply phase, which is not now. And of course then we have bridge phase and no air landing phase, and then into movement. So having done a little bit of analysis of where we're going here, so some tricky points here. First is 30 core getting into Eindhoven, so that combination of Fallschirmjäger battalion and the motorised 88 is it's a big problem. Essentially there's no tank shift capable, well, there isn't really in a city anyway, I believe, but because it's got a big anti-tank rating, the vehicle units attacking, the tank units attacking, are actually halved as well. So it's worse than not having the shift. And the minor rivers around it actually cause some problems, the ones around here. So it kind of segments the approach to Eindhoven for the vehicle units, and that's the majority of the fighting power at the front area here. Interestingly enough, it was slightly arbitrary, but I think that unit reinforcement placement and this traffic marker is actually a really good defensive placement here. Pretty much the 30 core could theoretically get all the way around Eindhoven here, but that traffic marker and the ability not to get around it actually really scuppers any big exploitation over there. There's a couple of, I think there's one unit that can get into Eindhoven, as the Cromwell unit. Cromwell battalion will be able to do that, a tank battalion, but yeah, not really any of the others, including the infantry. So we'll be shuffling around to try and get the infantry up, to get some get some extra firepower onto the Eindhoven hex. Again, this unit here, the SES unit here, again, rather annoying really, and quite essential. We do actually have this open bridge here, so there is a possibility of getting a sort of a convoluted supply path off to the 101st round this spot here. So I'll just move down to where that bridge is. This one here that's intact, and you can kind of trace a road movement there as well. Also, a slight flaw spotted back here with this bridge. It might be worth maybe heading back to try and capture that one. That may be useful as well. So yeah, lots of slightly less optimal moves, but a couple of good ones I think here. Yeah, so that's that, and then quickly moving on. The 101st got a bit of a problem up in the north, and yeah, I think it is a bit of a problem here. They're going to have to rush troops up, and they're fairly well dispersed here to try and push back against this German thrust, although it's not an incredibly strong thrust, but it could turn into a bit of a problem. The 82nd has kind of had a similar treatment here, here on this left-hand side, the south side of the forest. I think effectively the last drop zone here I think is lost. We're going to have to land troops up, air troops up in these drop zones from turn 6. I think we're not going to get these back, and that unit is might end up being a bit of trouble if it doesn't pull back. So yeah, and of course Nijmegen, there just isn't the strength to get into that hex really. We need the strength to shore up the defences. However, in 1st Airborne, we had this attack by the Germans here, tank supported into the outskirts, and that's put a little precarious position here because we're almost cutting off the city from the landing grounds. It's probably a prerequisite to start working on Arnhem. Recapturing it, and it might be a little tricky to force that back. It's the last turn, they've got the full attack factors, they're not going to get their artillery back until potentially the morning, so it's going to be a struggle really. Yeah, and we don't want to compromise the nice little diamond setup we've got here within Arnhem. Yeah, interesting. So there are some pressure points here which the Germans are able to inflict on the Allies. Okay, so anyway, we'll get through bridge phase and movement phase, and we'll recap there. So movement and bridge phase over. There was just one automatic bridge build way back at the Bocholt Canal. If there is no German unit within 5 hexes, then you don't need a bridge unit. It will just start to repair itself. That was the only one done. And then in the movement phase, so just going through the various sectors. So 1st Airborne decided to maybe have a go at trying to turf these guys out. They are low quality, so their determined defence capability won't be as good. Probably only get a 2-to-1 on it though, because there's the tank shifting defence there, but I think it's worth a go to try and restore the perimeter, certainly. So that's in the 1st Airborne area. Now in the 88th, the disrupted units, when they come to recover at the end of their player turn, they have to roll. It's a 50-50 if they recover. Now, because it's an elite unit, gets a bonus on there, so I thought certainly being able to put these guys in the front line should be alright, and we should get, well, reasonably likely to get the disruption removed anyway. So we've shorn up the line here, and thinking of possibly doing a combat on that hex as the supply runs out, to see if we can get a 3rd hex onto Nijmegen, and there's no chance of Germans sort of infiltrating through the city. So I think I might do that. Up with the 101st. So likewise up here with the disrupted unit, so I provided some reinforcements, stuck him back in the front line, reorganised these Zoc bonds here, and the other disrupted unit I've just brought back, and be reassigned wherever he needs to be. Down here, pushed up the one of the paratroop units up to here, so it's opposite the bridge. I haven't blown it as yet, because I think there's not going to be attack across it, and it might be useful to get back through. I've utilised this intact bridge, so I broke down this other parachute unit, went back up here just to cover. There's no problems over here, but he broke down a little company of paratroopers to run across the bridge and through, just to hold that that city there. So yeah, that's the 101st. Now a 30 core, as I said, there's a hell of a traffic jam and a big block in Eindhoven. So the paratroop unit attempted to move through this this unit, unnamed unit. When it was flipped over, it was a 1-2-3, so it was a 1-to-1 combat, or 2-to-1, and yeah, ended up with just an engaged result. So yeah, that hex is real for German defenders. So that's what happened there. Then we brought up the infantry, withdrawn the tanks because they're halved attacking into here anyway. So make it a pure infantry attack. Brought the Cromwell around. He will be halved anyway, but we've got some infantry all the way around here, and the artillery's up and available as well. So 30 core concentrated here. Brought the 11th Armoured through. They're going to have a go at this town here, although it's a narrow getting where we didn't have the movement points to get around to get more than one hex, and the rest of 11th Armoured flowing up this road and going to do a combat against that parachute unit as well. Yeah. Up north with the 50th Division. So we're going to attack here with these units. We've got the artillery is now available again, and yeah, we're covering that area. But if we can blow these guys out of the way and get that full use of that road, we can start to move some people down here to provide some infantry support ongoing, and setting up the perimeter from the north there. And yeah, that's kind of about it. So we've got a few combats here. I'll put them out. So the big guy there, just zoom out a little. So that unit here, and this one here are the combats in the east, and this is in the west. These two. Then the 101st, we haven't really got anything to do as far as combat goes. One thing did get is I did rewind this guy to head back to the canal, and actually that canal bridge was intact. So there is a bridge to get across now. So a kind of reverse headache for the now the Germans have to deal with that. They'll have to reoccupy Best, and that's taken a focus away from what's going on there. Yeah, so no attacks on the 101st. On the 82nd, so we'll have a go at the unknown unit in Nijmegen. See how we go, I think, with the last of the supply, and we'll place a marker there, and then one over in 1st Airborne, trying to take that hex back. See how we go. Yeah, and yeah, that's what we're going to try and do. Okay, so let's get on with those combats, and I'll take you through them when I've finished them all. Recapping the combat phase. So in Arnhem here we had a 2-to-1 attack. There was a tank shift against and a double morale shift. Rolled a 2 is an engage, so it's just restricting the movement of that unit. Effectively nothing happens there, so that didn't work. And on the 82nd side, again not much luck here. Turned over the unit, and it was a parachute company, a Fallschirmjäger company. Ended up a 2-to-1 attack, a shift for morale, and we got an exchange. So we did actually take the hex, although forced a remnant off the flipped unit there. So it took its ounce of flesh, but now we have that hex of Nijmegen as well anyway, so that's great. I think it's great to have the hex, I think, but it's not going to make a huge amount of difference until 30 core get there. We didn't have anything in the 101st, of course. The big attack in Eindhoven, well, I was a 3-1 by dint of 2 artillery shifts. We got an A1D1, which meant we lost a step off the Fallschirmjäger unit here and a step off infantry there, and yeah, kept 30 core out of Eindhoven for yet another turn, so they really are pretty well behind schedule now. More success elsewhere. So here in Lander, we had a 3-1 against what it ended up as being this unit here, and we got a DR. We had a tank shift there from the Cromwells, and we got a DR which pushed them back to here, but we used the road movement bonus to follow up with a tank, so ended up it was disrupted, ended up in full retreat, and then had to retreat again because of the adjacency. Couple that with big attack here of 5-1, defender shattered, so the Fallschirmjäger unit has done fairly good service, but is no more, and we get an exploit here, so that 11th Armoured is now on its way, spreading its wings as such. So down in the south here, there may be, I was starting to feel a bit bullish down here, but I think we may need to shore up the canal rather than think too much about trying to exploit with most of a British Armoured division heading that way. And then up in the north, we had the fight here, Eindhoven. Yeah, that was a fight. It ended up a 5-1 with a tank shift, including a tank shift. So we ended up with an A1D1. Could have been better. So we got a. We could have tried to stay on the road, but I thought it's take the risk of. Actually, no, sorry, I did take the risk. I rolled on the determined defence table, and yeah, we got a no result, so it had to retreat. And we got a little bit of an exploit here with the units involved. Use the road movement bonus for the tank unit with a normal advance. And over here we had a 3-1 attack, that's including artillery shift. It was doubled in the town as a 5-factor Fallschirmjäger unit. We got a 4, which is a DR, and I didn't determine defence that. I don't think it's particularly relevant. So they it retreated back into area A, which was adjacent, so the ZOC didn't really matter, and got him away. I'd rather he got away, really, and live to fight another day elsewhere. So that was all the attacks, and yeah, it's a mixed story, really. Not great at the airborne end and Eindhoven, but in the minor areas around the chasing pack, not gone too badly. So having done the combat phase, in the recovery phase here, so we'll roll for the relevant units of the airborne division, so that's an automatic. Here we'll have to roll, so we need 3 to 6, I believe. That's the roll for recovery. Yeah, 3 to 6. It's a +1 on the dice. 3 to 6, and it fails, so it's still disrupted. We have another one down here in 82nd, so we roll again, 3 to 6, and yeah, that recovers on a 6. Right, so that's the recovery, I believe. Yeah, that's all that done. Supply phase. So this is the point where we flip over the supply markers for the airborne division to their depleted side. So it means that they're effectively out of supply. So we have these generic markers here for the divisions, 1st Airborne and the 82nd, so we can place these just as a reminder. Yeah, so we know there's a general out of supply. Here, less so. So, yeah, the fact that we could use this road here, get back to the tweezers, that we could use this road here, we can't get past this SS unit though, so we haven't quite got the coverage the supply chain we need. But what we can have, I believe, certainly the units over here are okay. Possibly that one. But the rest will be out of supply because 30 core isn't quite there yet. So I'll be placing some markers on the 101st, a lot of the 101st here. And that's really the phase for the night for the Allies, and we'll need to then get on with the German turn. The beginning of the German turn, we've got the artillery resupply phase. So the 406 artillery near Nijmegen has flipped over, and also just up at the top of the board here, this is flipped over as well. At night time you get everything, all the German ones flipping. So that's the artillery resupply phase. Bridge phase, I can't see anything particularly needing to be blown at the moment on the German side, so we run straight into the movement phase. So yeah, a little bit of organisation in the south here, I think. Getting yeah, very interesting area still here. Wondering quite what to do with this SS unit really. Is it happy where it is? Should I put him in the city and make it even harder, or yeah, not sure about that. Up the 101st, closing in a bit further. I think let's see if we can do any air attacks. We do have a couple of reinforcements up there we can do something with. And at the 82nd area here with the 406 division, a bit more follow-up I think. We might as well use the infantry steps to try and push a bit further. Well, probably in the centre here, although this is quite a tough hex now. Maybe it's worth having a go at the landing zone, in case the landing zone's used next turn. It's unlikely with the weather roll, but it's possible. And our 1st Airborne section, so we now have an artillery unit here, which is great, and we have Panzerjäger unit here, which yeah, that's a fairly chunky unit. It's yeah, so it's a tank destroyer unit. So its anti-tank value is 4, but its tank value is actually 3. So it does have a tank value. So it's unlike the 88s. It does actually act as a tank. So that's another unit to come in and start attacking into the 1st Airborne. Interestingly enough, that's a free stacking unit, so I think I might bring it up here, maybe think about having a go. Well, there's a city hex, so you don't get the tank shift, so maybe not. But anyway, I'll do the movement and see how we go, and then yeah, we'll do a recap. We have completed our movement here. I've withdrawn Fallschirmjäger here, from here over to here, and use this SS unit to just attack here, I think, just to get rid of that unit. I'm quite happy with the situation here. I've also moved the unit down to sit in the town hex of Eindhoven as well, and that cuts off the supply line as well for the 101st units on, well, near to the canal and on this side of the canal. So that's another annoyance there for 30 Corps. It's really not going that well for them. In the south here, yeah, sorry, I withdrew this SS unit here. That hex, although doubled, there's a lot of hexes where, there's a lot of power can be brought to bear on it. So this one, there's a little bit of a bottleneck here with the Minor River and the polder, so that's going to affect the vehicles for an attack there. So that's a much more defendable area. In the south, I was thinking about blowing the bridges, but actually I think I've decided against it. We've got our Fallschirmjäger units here. This one is still in full retreat, but it will start to recover, and they're hefty units. Though that's the mainstay of the defence in Eindhoven is one of these Fallschirmjäger battalions, so doing very well. Same thing over here. So I've actually come across the bridge here to continue the harassment. I've shifted the unknown unit. You can shift an unknown unit per turn, which was here in Holland, and I put here as well as an extra defence. So there's a network defence there, which is great. No attack's going to be over there, not unsurprisingly. Up here we've reorganised. We've covered the town so that we don't get any silly buggers from the paratroopers there. And we're clustering around and attacking this unit with the artillery support, but that's about as much as happens here. On the 82nd, so we've shifted to refocus on this unit here to try and get him out of the drop zone here. We've got the artillery support as well, so that should be a decent attack. And finally, up in 1st Airborne, thought we'd have a go at this city hex here. We've got the artillery support. There's a decent now. It's going to be about a 2-to-1. It's worth a thump, I think. We've got we've got units to spare there. Also up here, we'd see if we can cause some problems for this glider pilots unit up here, holding the line as well. So that's 4 combats here. So I'll go through those and recap when I've finished. So the combats in the reverse order then announced. So up here in the 101st area, there was a combat there, which was a 3-to-1, including the artillery unit. Rolled a 3, which gave us a DR. Failed the determined defence roll, so had to retreat 2. And we need to put a disrupted marker on that unit. Moved into the hex on normal advance. Down at the 82nd here, so we had a 3-to-1, including the artillery. Rolled a 2, which is an exchange, so lost the step of the paratroopers, and as the opposition picks the unit in an exchange, so the motorised infantry took the step loss there. And then in Arnhem, well, look at this. So we had the 2-to-1 shot into here, including the artillery. Got a DR result, and the determined defence was again a 1, which meant that it was a failed defence. So had to retreat, and then could stop by taking a step loss into that hex. So that's a big attack that worked there. So the determined defence by the paratroopers has not been really good this turn. Up here with the glider pilots, there was a combat here, and that was 2-to-1 with a roll of 4, which is an A1 DR. So we lost a step, and the glider pilots retreated. Failed again to do the I didn't roll for the determined defence, just ran through. One hex through Zoc, the second hex wasn't, so there wasn't an elimination here, so retreated and disrupted, and then we've got an advance, one hex advance. So yeah, pretty good for the Germans really. Not bad results there. Just the 82nd a little bit disappointing on the exchange, but and no movement, but no retreats, but yeah, pretty good for that combat phase. So in the recovery phase, we'll just flip over units in recovery, which will be over around the 30 core area, and engaged markers as well. And yeah, there's one over here, isn't there, with the tank unit. Just as a note, the tank destroyer unit that came in, I actually moved to this sector. I'd rather it come in here and then provide some combat shifts into the town hexes rather than the city hexes. It doesn't get the shift there, so I pulled it round to the next area there. I also merged this little unit into flipping this Kampf group here as well, to give an extra boost on the attack. Yeah, that's just completing that. Supply phase, we're still okay. Well, definitely okay over in the top sectors. Over in this area, I think we're still okay here. We have the ability to trace back to the southern bridges, so no problems with supply for the Germans. We can trace, I believe, through the city for those units. Let me just check that. Yeah, it can't go across two consecutive EZOCs or a ZOC bond, of which there isn't running through here. So 1, 2, 3, no, 3 here. So when we trace from here, so these guys are in supply. These guys are in supply. Yeah, they're all happy. Okay, so finally the good old traffic marker phase, and it's we've got a couple to place. I think we need to move them a little bit forward here, but I think the 88s are quite happy to provide here the traffic, but see if we can slow down the 11th Armoured, I think. So certainly maybe one traffic marker there, and just popping up the others just so we know where they are. And maybe yeah, maybe that hex as well. So yeah, and then we roll the 2 dice for the traffic markers. We got a 1 and a 2, so 1 is the guy at the back, so that's not too bad. Number 2 is this one here, so again, not so bad. I was going to pick 2, maybe 3 would have been nice, but yeah, that's not a bad result for the traffic markers. Oh, I've got disrupted marker to remove up there as well. And then that's the turn. So that's turn 5. That's the night. So next turn we got with a weather roll, and yeah, I think the Allies are in a bit of trouble here. The first airborne was looking really good, and then that last turn not so good. 82nd still underperforming. 101st kind of there, but yeah, it's yeah, not great. And 30 Corps just stuck in Eindhoven. Yeah, pretty terrible. Still, we got the morning to come. Let's see if we get some paradrops. We can drop the poles actually over in Arnhem now, if we have the ability. I think I'm probably a little bit more interested in dropping more 82nd units than possibly the poles. Although the poles are big elite units like the normal paratroopers, whereas what's remaining for the 82nd and 101st are glider troops. But there is an artillery unit for the 82nd possible as well. And of course, there's a great big stack of German units to come in as well. Possibly not quite the biggest one yet, but a pretty big stack next term. Well, thanks for listening. I've gratifyingly got a few new subscribers, which is great. Thanks for coming along and supporting, and hope you're enjoying it. And hopefully we'll have a few more videos for you over the next few days. And I'll see you for the morning of September the 19th. That's turn 6. Thanks for watching.